Joining us now is Daniel O'Day, Chairman and CEO of Gilead Sciences. That's the pharmaceutical company that makes remdesivir. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Margaret. Thank you for having me on.
So this drug shaves about 4 days off the recovery time of someone hospitalized with coronavirus, according to the government study. Now that your company has this emergency use authorization, how quickly will the drug get to those people who need it?
Well, I think I speak on behalf of all of us at Gilead that we are grateful and really humbled that everything has moved so quickly. You know, it's only been 3 months since the first case was diagnosed in the United States to the emergency use authorization that was provided this past Friday. That's thanks to a lot of patients and caregivers that participate in our clinical trials. And we are now firmly focused on getting this medicine to the most urgent patients around the country here in the United States. And Margaret, we intend to get that to patients in the early part of this next week, beginning to work with the government, which will determine which cities are most vulnerable and where the patients are that need this medicine.
I think that's important. You're saying you've donated some of this drug to the federal government, and you will work with the federal government to decide where the drug goes, or is that up to the federal government to decide?
Right, Margaret. So we've donated the entire supply that we have within our supply chain. And we did that because we acknowledge and recognize the human suffering, the human need here, and want to make sure that nothing gets in the way of this getting to patients. And what we will do is provide that donation to the U.S. government, and they will determine, based upon things like ICU beds, where the course of the epidemic is in the United States, they will begin shipping tens of thousands of treatment courses out early this week and be adjusting that as the epidemic shifts and evolves in different parts and different cities here in the United States.
Okay. Well, we have more to talk about with you, but I have to take a quick break here. So stay with us, and stay with us, all of you as well, please. More with Daniel O'Day in a moment. Welcome back to Face the Nation. We want to pick up where we left off with Daniel O'Day, the head of Gilead Sciences, which produces the drug remdesivir, which was just given emergency use authorization. I want to pick up on this. You said the supply of 1.5 million doses of remdesivir has been donated to the government. That's enough for what, 150,000 patients or so?
Right, Margaret. Just to be clear, what we've done is we've donated the entirety of our supply, which is around 1.5 million vials. And that turns into around 100,000 to 200,000 treatment courses, depending on whether it's a 5-day or a 10-day. And this donation will be made available to patients here in America and the United States and across the world as other regulatory decisions are taken for those countries.
This drug is clearly going to be in demand since it's the first sort of promising development we've had. You were at the White House. Has the Trump administration talked to you at all about using the Defense Production Act to somehow mandate that you prioritize the U.S. market over foreign markets?
Yeah, let me say something on the supply and the demand, because, you know, I'm so proud to work with the scientists at Gilead that quickly moved and mobilized themselves in January, long before we knew whether the medicine would be available, to increase the supply. This is a long supply process. It used to take around 12 months, and now takes around 6 months. And because of the steps we took in January, we'll have significantly more supply in the second half of this year to serve the suffering and the human needs out there. We've been working very closely with the U.S. government, with other governments around the world. And in terms of the allocation question, I think we're aligned with the U.S. government to both serve the patients here in the United States and then to be able to also make sure, as a global company based here in the United States, that we can serve other countries around the world as well. We've had very good dialogues with the government, and that's going well.
So they haven't talked to you about mandating the U.S. market be prioritized or taking it for the stockpile, for example? You can still export it.
That's correct. We have been exporting for clinical trials and for compassionate use thousands of treatment courses, and our collaboration with the government has been such that we've been very transparent with them here in the United States, and we have a good relationship on future allocation.
This drug you have to get through an IV right now, so it works for hospitalized patients. Will you develop other mechanisms? Does this ever become a pill someone can take at home?
Yes, it's important to note that this medicine is really right now for the most severe patients in the hospital, and it's given by IV, either through a 5-day treatment course or a 10-day treatment course, depending on the stage and nature of the patient. But our scientists have been working since earlier this year to say, are there other ways that we could deliver this medicine, potentially, as Dr. Gottlieb mentioned, to earlier patients? And in order to do that, we're looking at formulations such as subcutaneous formulations that may be given outside the hospital setting, and possibly an inhaled version. This medicine is not suitable for oral administration because of the way it's metabolized, but there are ways we can look at formulations potentially that would get us to earlier patients and patients outside the hospital setting. That research is still ongoing yet, hasn't yet read out, and we'll certainly keep you up to speed on that.
All right, we will be watching. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Day.
Thank you.